You're good. We are live from Lifestyle Media Studios. Welcome to Combat Misfits. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning in and watching this episode. We are super pumped today. We have had, a somewhat, crawl to this pay-per-view, but it is now here. UFC 269 is this weekend. The potential of the biggest card this year, and we've been talking about it for months, and it is now here. We have 3-4 nights left?
Yeah, Saturday.
And Saturday night it goes down. So we're going to get into a lot of topics, as well as, from what you guys all have probably heard, breaking news. Tommy Fury pulled out of the Jake Paul fight. We're going to get into that, as well as our predictions for the pay-per-view this weekend. But first, I would like to introduce my co-host, Chris Thedick. Good evening, sir.
What's going on, guys?
And our producer, Vinny Quinn.
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
What's up, man?
The holidays are kicking my butt, So we are, we are pumped, though. And I'm going to get right down into business. We're going to touch down on this breaking news since it's still pretty relevant, We woke up Monday morning. See, I heard on my phone Sunday night that Tommy Fury was possibly going to pull out. It was late breaking news on most outlets that I read up on, and it wasn't concrete yet, but I had some sort of knowledge that this fight was off, man. And Monday morning came, and the Monday morning gloom and doom kind of days, it really hurt the soul that fight was off. I was more than pumped on that fight, Chris. I know you were as well. It was going to be Jake Paul's toughest test. And then, what do you know? Tommy Fury pulls out. A lot of people were talking. What do we make of this, man? What do we make of this?
It starts off that conspiracy theories is, did Jake Paul tell Tommy Fury to fake an injury, or does he have an injury? I know he posted his X-rays saying he has a respiratory infection and all that. So I think it comes into that play is like what's real and what isn't real. And I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, yeah, he did share his X-rays. He did come out in a statement saying that he had a bacterial infection. He said camp was going good. You know, his training camp was going good. And then he basically came down with a bacterial infection. I take it as just a freaking cold, bro. I mean, I don't know.
He also suffered a broken rib.
Yeah, but
So,
he
can't
said
fake that.
he said in an interview that happened while he was having the bacterial infection. He was still training through that. Yeah, and it made him weaker. So, I mean, he did share the X-ray. There's not much, there's not much conspiracy with that. I mean, is the X-ray fake? I don't know, man. There was a lot of stipulations on the line with this fight. He had to change his name if he lost, and
He had to retire boxing.
He had to, I mean, and basically, his half brother Tyson Fury and his father, they were getting ready to zone him. So I don't know, man.
I think the stipulations will still continue. If they just say Jake Paul and him could fight anyway, right? I think the stipulations still intact. Change your name, this, that, and the third.
Oh, he's gonna still want them stipulations if that fight, does eventually come.
Well, the thing is, the Fury, the dad and the brother, they said you're done. Jake didn't say that. They said you're done.
Yeah.
So Tommy Fury has a lot on his back in that fight, even if he wouldn't have went through that fight. But now we have Tyron Woodley wanting to step up and take the reins on that, and that I guess we'll see what happens with that fight.
So what do you think of that rematch? Woodley
needs it. Woodley needs it badly. I don't think Jake needs it. Jake does not need that fight.
Yeah.
Woodley needs that fight.
So we are live on YouTube for all you guys are watching. Comment into the show. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page. We are live on Apple Podcasts. We are live on Spotify. Basically, if you're at the gym and you want to listen to a great podcast, we're here, man. Tune in. We are, open for any questions or comments. Don't be afraid to interact with the show. But yes, so Tyron Woodley steps in. 12 days notice, bro. 12 days notice. I mean, you'd have to say, maybe Tyron Woodley needs this fight. He's coming in guns a-blazing this time. There's no pressure on Tyron Woodley.
Of course there is. There's so much pressure.
Why?
You need to redeem yourself.
He stepped up and saved this card, bro.
He didn't need to. You did that on your own volition.
No.
You don't need to. He needs it to save his career.
I don't think
so. Everyone stops clowning him. You know how many jokes there is about Tyron Woodley? You don't think he wants to get back in there and redeem himself?
What kind of jokes are there?
They're saying he's soft. He sucks. He lost to a YouTuber who fought for 5 weeks of his life. He's trash.
But look, okay, I get that aspect. But Tyron Woodley has never boxed. He had never really boxed before.
Then you can't say you have heavy hands.
Jake Paul, yes, he beat Nate Robinson, a basketball player. Yeah, I mean, he beat, what the heck is his name? I can't even think of his name right now. The other UFC fighter.
Ben Askren?
Yeah, there you go. Ben Askren. I couldn't think of his last name. So Ben Askren, he beat him. Yeah, okay. So whatever, a bunch of bums, But right. Ben Askren was a former champion at one time.
Bum.
Look, you can't deny the success he's had in MMA.
Bum.
In MMA.
Bum.
Why?
He sucks.
But it's hard to get up and fight, man. It's hard.
Not if that's your career.
I get it. I get your point. I get your frustration, okay?
He got torched and retired, Dave.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. Tyron Woodley loses. You said earlier when we were talking, it
ruins his career.
It ruins his career.
Absolutely.
But for a fighter to step up, knowing the stipulations that are in place, right? So Jake Paul basically offered him $500,000 extra of his purse
if he wins.
If he knocks him out.
Well, that
says a lot because remember when I was telling you
That's embarrassing.
Dylan Danis, right? He came out and he basically said, look, that fight was fixed. Like, Tyron Woodley was not allowed to knock him out. There was,
it's all those conspiracy theories that happened.
But there's going to be.
There's
going to be.
Of course.
Because a lot of people are going to say things that may or may not be true. And it may not be true. Who knows? Only Dylan Danis, or Tyron Woodley knows himself, or Jake Paul knows himself, and I don't even know if Dylan Danis really knew, but he said, like, that they're him and Tyron Woodley are pretty close, so whatever. Look, point being, there's $500,000 on the line. So Tyron Woodley has 500,000 reasons now to potentially knock out Jake Paul.
Well, he has $1 million. He's getting paid $500,000 a fight, and $500,000 if he knocks him out.
Extra. I mean, why not? Why not go in there with...
That's embarrassing if someone's giving you that much money saying you can't knock me out.
That tells you right there that maybe Jake Paul's, hearing of those bullshit rumors, about him not being able to knock out Jake Paul. So maybe Jake Paul's like, look, I'll give you an extra $500,000 just to prove to people that shit's not in my clause contract. That's not in the contract. You can't.
Or there's a spit in his face saying you can't hit hard. You don't hit hard at all.
I don't know, because I think this fight's going to be different. I think Jake Paul is going to respect the shit out of Tyron Woodley for at least stepping up.
No.
Look,
no shot.
This fight happened, September 29th? It was like the end of September. Or no, it was the end of August. My bad. It was the end of August because I remember it was right before Nate Diaz fought. So there's been some preparation. You said maybe or maybe not Tyron Woodley is in the gym or has been in the gym fighting.
He has.
Right?
That's a
or
fact.
Training, sparring.
There's a fact. There's videos of him being in the gym since
I think he's
fight.
still in physical shape. I don't really know, I don't know if this hurts Tyron Woodley's legacy. Okay?
Sure does.
I can't disagree or agree with you because he's already cemented himself as, the champion, the welterweight champion in the UFC. He's fought dogs, man, straight up dogs, like Robbie Lawler, like huge, great fighters. All right. So let's say, okay, yes, he towards the end of his career in the UFC, he didn't have the best, the best success, but he was fighting legit people. These are not bums. Vicente Luque, all these guys are not bums. You see how close they are to the title shot right now currently, to potentially fight Kamaru.
Right. But the thing is, if he fights this YouTuber twice and loses twice, your career is done in fighting. People are going to make jokes about you, all that.
But we talked about this, right? So this is the new thing, MMA versus boxing.
Right, well, put up a better fight. My goodness.
He tried. Okay, so look, you said it after the fight actually happened. You said, yes, Tyron Woodley has a potential to, when he, starches something, when he gets somebody in danger, he freezes.
Right.
I agree with that because that's a known fact. I don't know if that had anything to do with these bullshit rumors about the clause in the contract of him not being able to knock him out. I just think he had him seriously in danger. Jake Paul knows that. Tyron Woodley knows that. Why it wasn't finished, who knows? Maybe he wasn't really understanding of the boxing rules. Who knows? It could be anything. Numerous things could have made him be like, well, wait, am I allowed to hit him up against the rope? Who knows? Who knows? All these things are hypothetical right now. But you have to think that Tyron Woodley's going to go in this already knowing how Jake Paul stands and how he throws his jab. He already knows this. He's been in there in the fight with Jake Paul.
The only well, I agree to it to an extent. The only thing is Jake Paul is a sponge right now. He's very new to boxing. He's going to learn very different things and different ways that he can move. He don't have the best of footwork. He don't have the best movement. He has power and height. When he gets older, you get more wiser and better the longer you go. He's going to be a totally different fighter the last time he fought Woodley. That's just a fact. Woodley will be the same. Woodley's not different. He's older. Can't teach an old dog new tricks. Just what it is. He is who he is. Jake Paul's young and sponge-worthy, where he's going to be very different as he gets older. That's why the Tommy Fury was more exciting, because it's a different fighter. Fury's young. He's a sponge as well. He's getting new techniques, learning different things, how to move his hands and his body. So that would have been a better fight for Jake Paul to test him as a boxer and to see if he's a real fighter. Him fighting Tyron Woodley again is probably be the same thing all over again.
It may. It really may. I'm really not going to argue with this one. We've got plenty of arguments to come on this show.
Yeah.
But this one, who knows? Who knows what to expect? Tyron Woodley, does have the ability now to gauge the boxing ring size, So things like that, you wouldn't think that would really take effect in this. If Tyron Woodley had never really boxed before, well, he doesn't really know how to gauge the boxing ring. Small things, small things could really take effect. He still has that power. He's, 40 years old? Yeah. So, I mean, and I don't even think he's 40 yet. I'm not sure.
He's up there.
But anything could really happen in this fight. Yes, do I think Tyron Woodley's going to beat him? No. But I don't know if it necessarily will hurt his legacy. A lot of people will remember him. At least fans will remember him for stepping up to save this card.
People are going to remember him losing to a YouTuber 2 times.
You mentioned, right? Anybody would love to take this fight with Jake Paul.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 weeks is very risky, especially if you're not in the gym training, right?
It's not risky. You're getting paid.
I get that.
There's no risk.
Money to an extent. But for a real boxer, so like a real boxer, like that actually has a decent record, to risk that, with the potential of a loss, especially if they're close to a potential title shot in boxing, many people are going to be like, yeah, I love the money, but a lot of boxers are not, the money comes with boxing. We've talked about this.
Listen, you give Canelo or any top tier boxer, hey, fight Jake Paul. They're all going to say no because it's not worth my time. You say you give you $50 million to step in 2 weeks short notice, they're jumping in.
It could. I mean, look, it could happen. Somebody will somebody's going to be out there willing to risk that 2 week notice. But I just, I do applaud Tyron Woodley for at least stepping up. Look, we're probably going to get the same result. Mm-hmm. Who knows? I mean, we have a whole nother week, and we're back here live on Wednesday, and we'll be discussing this more, as well as the NFL, the ex-NFL star and the NBA star who's on the card fighting each other. I mean, and Amanda Serrano, who's also on the card as well. So, I mean, and there's also a decent fight on there. I forget their names, but we'll have, better awareness next week. But there is a fight on that card that with a significantly high undefeated fighter versus another significantly high undefeated fighter. So there is some decent fights on that card other than the Jake Paul Tyron Woodley fight. But we're getting into UFC 269 because I'm pumped, man. We've been waiting this for months, Yep. This is the time, man. This is the time where Dustin Poirier could walk out of 2021 the lightweight champion. Is it a long shot?
It's not that far of a long shot.
It's not that far of a long shot. Dustin Poirier is a freaking huge, a huge. He has a huge advantage. Charles Oliveira hasn't lost in a long time, man. Charles Oliveira, he hasn't fought as much better competition as Dustin Poirier has. Like Dustin Poirier has beaten Justin Gaethje. His last loss, Justin Gaethje's last loss, was to Khabib Nurmagomedov. So his last loss was against the GOAT, the potential GOAT. I mean, when you talk about in the lightweight division, he has a lot of wins stacked up right now. And he's on a run. I mean, what is your thoughts? I mean, we have Amanda Nunes on that card, but we're going to start with the main event for now.
I think Dustin's just overmatched for Charles Oliveira. I think that's probably not going to make it to the 3rd round.
You don't think so?
No.
So they mentioned, right, and I had done some research, right? So Charles Oliveira has never been into the 4th or 5th round in a main event. This will be his first time if Dustin Poirier gets him to that limit. So the longer this fight goes, the better it may benefit Dustin Poirier,
I think, like what you said earlier, is Dustin Poirier has all the advantages towards him. He's bigger, he's stronger, and if he, like you said, if Charles Oliveira never been to the 4th or 5th round, that's exhausting. And if Dustin can push him to 4 or 5 rounds, he's gonna be in the deep waters. He's gonna be drained. I think Dustin just has that win marked all over his name. If you're betting, man, take Dustin. I don't think this fight's going to go past the second round. I don't.
You don't think so?
No.
See, that's the scary part because Charles Oliveira is better in the beginning. So Charles Oliveira is coming off of a 10-win streak. He's hasn't lost since 2017. Guess who his last loss was against? Paul Felder. Philadelphia's own Paul Felder knocked him out back on December 2nd, 2017. So it's been that long that Charles Oliveira hasn't lost. You know, he's beaten Michael Chandler, you know, whatever, Bellator fighter. Kevin Lee, you know, now he's kicked out of the UFC. He's beaten Tony Ferguson. He's beaten some really top named fighters. So Dustin Poirier has advantage. I'm rooting for Dustin Poirier. You know, not to be biased or anything, you know, but Charles Oliveira is a Brazilian. And when it comes to, you know, the Americans, I'm going for the Americans. I'm sorry. There's, you know, it's time that Dustin Poirier wins that belt. We've watched him grow. We've watched him beat Conor twice this year. He wins that belt this weekend. This will be the biggest year of his whole career. He's made a shit ton of money with Conor McGregor.
Yep.
And now he wins the lightweight title. How do you get any better than that?
I think it's like the peak for him, like the being what was it, featherweight, getting torched by Conor, and the division wasn't working for him. Then he moves up weight to be more comfortable, and he's just been dominant ever since he moved up to lightweight.
Yeah.
I think it's a good fit for him. I think he should just stay there and be a good champion. Hopefully he can defend the title at least a few times, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm down for it, man, because Dustin Poirier will not only have that successful year, but he turns 33 years old on January 19th. Like, this just, you know, and he's still young. You know, you would have to say 32 years old. I mean, he's in the prime of his life right now. He's in the prime of his career, you know? I wish him the best, man. I would like to get everybody that's watching their predictions as well. Like, do you think Dustin Poirier walks away the champion? Do you think he can upset Charles Oliveira? Or do you think Charles Oliveira is going to lock him up in a submission early in the fight? Because that's, in my opinion, that's Charles Oliveira's game plan right there, is to try and take Dustin Poirier to the ground early in the fight. I don't know how Dustin Poirier is going to react from that. I mean, Dustin Poirier, you know, he's not like that great of a wrestler, you know, or a grappler. He does have some significant game in there, you know. I mean, I think he could defend takedowns pretty well. But Charles Oliveira is going to come in guns a-blazing trying to take him down. You know, he has some of the most he has the most finishes, like the most submissions in the UFC right now. So, I mean, you're going in there knowing that that's Charles Oliveira's game plan. You know, that's his game plan right there, is to try and take him down to the ground. Now, is he going to be able to take him down to the ground? We're going to find out this Saturday.
Yep, we'll see.
I mean, I'm rooting for Dustin Poirier, though. I really think it's his time. Who do we see next for Dustin Poirier if he beats him? If he beats Charles Oliveira? I mean,
probably Justin.
I think it has to be Justin, right? But there's also Islam Makhachev, you know,
Jesus
itching
Christ.
at the nails. Look, he's got Habib on his side, too. Look, Islam Makhachev deserves the title shot. I get it. But you can't deny that Justin Gaethje, you know, that fight that he just recently had with Michael Chandler, you know, is probably the best fight of this year, the most vicious fight of this year. So, I mean, you can't deny Justin Gaethje. I think that's the fight to make if Dustin Poirier wins, regardless.
Yeah, but didn't Dustin already beat the brakes off of Justin already? Yeah. He did.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
I mean, so it's hard. It's a hard case to sell. And you know, Justin Gaethje did come out and say, you know, I think I deserve that rematch. I think it would be great to have that rematch against Dustin Poirier.
Well, I'm pretty sure Dana already said Justin Gaethje deserves a title shot.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter who wins or not. It's Justin's probably next.
Yeah. And if I was Justin, don't do not accept another fight and risk that number one contendership just because, who knows what happens this Saturday. Dustin Poirier could get injured. I hope not, but he could, and he could be out a significant time. Justin Gaethje will,
He would step in. And just say he gets hurt tomorrow, Justin Gaethje would step in.
No, but I'm saying after the fight. So say Dustin Poirier hurts himself this year or this weekend,
Right.
and that sidelines Dustin Poirier from defending the belt against Justin Gaethje.
Then
and then
see
they come to Justin Gaethje. Hey, do you want to accept the fight? In the meantime, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't risk.
unless
that.
it's for an interim. Why not? Because that means you demand a title shot.
Yes, that is true. If it's an interim title fight, that almost concretes your number one contendership, but it also puts it at risk. Who knows who that could be? It could be Islam Makhachev. That's a tough. Most people when they're going to fight Islam Makhachev, it's going to be a tough fight for him.
I think Justin would knock him out.
That would be his only shot because Islam's coming in trying to take him down as well.
But Justin's not bad on the ground either because Khabib, he dominated him obviously on the ground, but even Khabib said Justin Gaethje hit him the hardest he's ever been hit in his life. So we don't know.
We do not know, but we're going to find out this weekend. I'm excited for it, man. I really think Dustin Poirier's walking away the champion, So in the co-main event, we've got Amanda Nunes defending her belt against Juliana Penne. And, we're on the fence about this. We're probably going to get in an argument about this. But let's just call it a debate, right? A friendly debate.
Yep.
So we've got Amanda Nunes defending her belt. She's 33 years old. Her last loss was against Kat Zingano. We say this all the time. It was back in 2014.
Beat the brakes off her. She didn't stand a chance.
She didn't stand the chance. In walks in Juliana Penne, right? She actually beat Kat Zingano.
She did.
So she has a victory over the one person most recently to beat Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes is on a 12-fight win streak. I mean, it's really hard to say that Amanda Nunes is going to dominate Juliana Penne. I mean...
It's a fair assumption.
It's a fair assumption, but like I said before, right, there's a lot of things to take into this fight. Amanda Nunes is now, has a baby. She has this family life. How well is her head in this game? What is she thinking currently about, is she overlooking Juliana Penne? Is she taking this fight serious? Because Juliana Penne is no joke, She isn't going to be like the last fight that Amanda Nunes had, which was Megan Anderson. Megan Anderson, to me, in that last fight, she was already defeated. I think she just looked like she didn't want to be there with Amanda Nunes, and Amanda Nunes took advantage of that.
I wouldn't say that. I think after the first punch, I think that's what happened.
The game plan changes.
Right, she hit harder than she expected. I would say that. But with Juliana Penne she is almost like Kat Zingano. But what Juliana Penne has to do the same thing Kat did. She weathered the storm the first round, and then second round she had Amanda Nunes on her back, just getting her face pounded in.
Yeah.
So. Amanda Nunes is good for the first round. You got to weather her storm. If she paces herself, then you might be in for a longer night. But usually Amanda Nunes goes all out in the first round. You just got to survive it. And after you survive it and you can get her down, you can beat her. It's the same thing with Ronda Rousey. As soon as she got you on the ground, you're in deep trouble.
Yeah.
If you can keep her standing, Ronda was in deep trouble. Same thing with Amanda. You keep her on her feet, you're in trouble. You get her on her back, you should be okay. It's the same principle.
I mean, this is going to be a Brazil versus Brazil, man. I mean, right. These two ladies, in their own right, Juliana Penne hasn't been as dominant as Amanda Nunes. So,
well, no,
because I think she only has one win going into this fight. She hasn't racked up a bunch of wins to get to this fight. But we've talked about this with Amanda Nunes being so dominant. There's really nobody out there for her. Right. So it's like, is Amanda Nunes going to overlook Julia? I think that would be her biggest mistake, is to think that she's just going to walk in there and demolish Juliana Penne.
I don't think she's overlooked anybody in her whole career. Amanda Nunes is pretty focused. She's pretty determined. She has a good head on her shoulders. She doesn't overlook anybody. The only person that, I'm not going to say that because I don't think that's right. I don't think she's overlooked anybody. I think she treated each opponent as their own. She hasn't overlooked nobody.
But you get comfortable, you would think, right?
So,
after 13 wins in a row and not losing in what, 6, 7 years?
She's not contaminated. She don't have anybody in her ear. She don't have nobody saying gas and light in her or anything like that. She's all right. What she does is be a mom. She stays home with the missus and trains. She has nobody diluting her head space.
But that, like I said, does that mean that, she's more towards this family life and maybe she's not all in this anymore, Because she knows after this fight, I don't really know who's next for her, And I'm sure she's thinking the same thing, like, is there really any competition left after this fight? Like,
if you're going to say that, I mean she's getting bored. I don't think she's bored.
I think she's bored?
I think she's happy. She's winning. She has a champion. She's getting big paydays.
She's getting big paydays.
And she's home with her family. What else can't you be motivated for? You're providing for your kids. I don't know what kids she has.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she has.
Well,
she has a daughter.
I believe so too. So she's providing for her daughter and giving her the best life she can. She has 2 moms at home, and she's getting hefty paychecks and winning. What else do you want?
I don't know, man.
I don't think she's deluded or anything. No one's gaslighting her. She don't do interviews like that. No one's throwing her head around like, "Oh, you're the best fighter in the world." What do you feel about that? No one's saying nothing to her. She don't do interviews.
She don't really talk shit. Yeah,
right. So no one's filling her headspace with false propaganda. She's cool. She's all right. She don't need anything. So the only thing she needs to do is show up to work, beat a chick up, and go home.
So what's your prediction for this fight?
I think if Juliette Penne can look at the film of Kat Zingano and find the pathway on how to beat Amanda Nunes, I think she would upset the world. I think it all depends on how the first round goes. If she can survive the first round and get out of it and show that she can get Amanda on the ground, I think Juliette Penne is going to upset the world. But if she cannot get her on the ground, Amanda Nunes is going to knock her on her back and TKO her easily.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Because Kat Zingano sent out a blueprint in 2013 how to beat Amanda Nunes. The thing is, if Amanda Nunes worked hard on 2013's loss, on saying, hey, I'm never going to let no one take me down again like that and beat me, then Juliette Penne's in for a long night. But I don't see Amanda Nunes trained that much to get back up if she ever gets put on her back. I don't see her get-ups being better. I think she just focused more on stand-up. Hey, look, I'm going to beat these chicks up real bad where they can't take me down. I think that's where we're at. But I would love to see an upset. I love to see an upset with Juliette Penne just beats on Amanda Nunes. I love it.
See, I'm rooting for Amanda Nunes only because of what I expect. I expect this to happen where, the bell rings and Juliette Penne gives her best, and then she gets hit with Amanda Nunes, and as soon as she gets hit by Amanda Nunes, her game plan, like most other women, goes out the door. Mm-hmm. Can she stay committed after the first shot that she's going to take from Amanda Nunes? Mm-hmm. I don't know. We're going to have to find that out. But from what I know is Juliette Penne really is going in there basically, with nothing really to lose, The pressure,
I think. Title shot?
Yeah.
Lose the title shot.
I mean, but that's expected almost, you would think. Like, if she were to win against Amanda Nunes, right, this would be the biggest upset in recent history. I mean, I can't really think of an upset.
I think the Chris Weidman against Anderson Silva is the biggest upset.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest upset. By far. I don't think anything's even close.
But that was before
Don't
when
matter.
Ronda Rousey got upset.
I don't even think that was a big upset. I think that was just a given. I always thought Ronda couldn't do stand up and fight nobody. If someone stood up and fought her, I knew that she was going to lose.
See, I accept that, Chris Weidman versus Anderson Silva, but Anderson Silva joked around a lot in that fight.
He did. He got caught.
He kind of opened himself up. His chin was looking very open in that fight.
Right. Because he could take a punch, but I guess Weidman clipped him in the right spot, and he went, good night.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest shock.
Right. That was right after he joked. He was joking with him, mocking him, and then boom.
I think that's the biggest upset I've ever seen, is Weidman beating Silva. I can't remember another upset that's just huge.
Now, I don't know how many defenses Anderson Silva had.
16.
So what's Amanda Nunes at right now? Nowhere near that,
No.
I don't think. No.
No, not even close.
No. But, I mean, between maybe featherweight and bantamweight, maybe they're stacking up to that.
You still could do that and still won't come close.
I know. But let's be real. Amanda Nunes has been, a lot of people say she's the GOAT. She's the greatest women's fighter.
People say that, yeah.
Yeah. If Julia Penne were to upset her, it would be the biggest upset, in my opinion. And only because of Juliette Penne is she's almost expected to lose, but she could possibly win. Who knows? And then that opens the division, right? Because right now the division's so shut out with Amanda Nunes.
I think if she beats Julia Penne with a fashion statement of knocking her out, I think the only fight is left is Kayla Harrison.
And that may or may not happen. I mean, you would think it has to happen because Dana White's going to have to go looking for fighters after that. I mean, with Aspen Ladd, like I said, having weight issues and just,
she just lost recently.
Yeah, exactly. That was at featherweight. So, and she didn't even, she struggled to make weight and she didn't even look good at featherweight. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with her. So then sitting at second, I think Jermaine Durandame is sitting on the top as well.
Yeah, she already got waxed.
She already got waxed. Holly Holm already got whacked. I mean, there's nobody really left. So I mean, I'm kind of rooting for an upset as well. I'm expecting, Amanda Nunes to defend her belt in.
Well, yeah, if you have a smart mind or anything, you're already expecting Amanda Nunes to win. But if you look at the accolades that Julia Penne has, it's almost the same as Kat Zingano. So I think that gives you that what if factor. Like, what if she wins? She could win. She's a great grappler. She likes to fight on the ground. Amanda Nunes does not like to fight on the ground. It's just if Julia Penne can take a punch from Amanda Nunes a few times. Because Amanda Nunes will hit her. There's no question. Amanda Nunes will clip her. It's just if she can hang on and recover and get Amanda on the ground. And if she can get Amanda on the ground, I think we'll see a different outcome. I really do. I think if Julia Penne could put Amanda Nunes on her back and hold her there for a good 10 seconds, Amanda Nunes is probably going to lose the title.
I think that would be her best shot. I mean, she does have some good jiu-jitsu skills. She is a good striker. She's
all right.
She's all right. She's not. Yeah, like I said, she doesn't hit like a truck like Amanda Nunes does.
Right. She's all right.
But I mean, she can hold her own. I mean, the reality is when you think about it, they both have 4 losses. They both have 4 losses. Amanda Nunes obviously has a little bit more experience with 21 victories.
Mm-hmm.
It may possibly go to Juliana Penne. I mean, look, if you are a betting fan, right, and you are betting, I would put a bet on Juliana Penne. Why not? I mean,
I think you have to split that. If you're going to make a bet, make 2 bets. One, a safe bet, is Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
If you want to get risky and a little out there, you pick Juliana Penne for an upset, and that's a huge payday if she has an upset.
I think she'll be the biggest underdog on the card.
There's no question she is.
I think she will be the biggest underdog.
Because Charles Oliveira and Dustin Poirier, I think that's an almost match. I think it's a pick 'em.
Because you can't really give Dustin Poirier the underdog status. He may have a slight underdog status.
I think that's a pick'em. I think that's a pick'em fight.
Yeah.
Has to be a pick'em. I don't think there's going to be a favorite. I don't see her to be a favorite. I think it's a pick'em.
They're going to be close. I mean,
yeah, if you want an upset, Julia Penne is the upset. I think that's the huge upset. Because if you put, I think it's $100 down, and she wins, you're making out a pretty penny.
Yeah. I mean, so why not? You know, it could be a great Christmas bonus right there. You know, who knows? I mean,
be love right there.
Yeah. So I mean that's the two fights so far. This card is very stacked though. I mean, with the two title fights, yes, we did lose Leon Edwards versus Jorge Masvidal, but it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. Move on. So also on this card, we have, you know, remember. Like last week, I mentioned to you Geoff Neal, you know, and how he got arrested for drunk driving, and the fight was canceled. So I thought, you know, there was going to be some issues with the card with that fight being canceled, but supposedly it's still on. I mean, he got cleared. He had a gun in his car as well, and his gun was he had a license for. So I mean, and most people in Texas do. He was driving around with a gun in his car after Thanksgiving with a little bit of what they thought was alcohol, but I mean, he did the blood test and everything came back normal. And I mean, he has a license for the gun that he was driving with. And like I said, everybody in Texas drives with a gun. You know, you're so the fight is still on with that card, and with what he's been going through the last week, I'm rooting for Geoff Neal. You know, I really think he could take this victory. I mean, Santiago Ponzinibbio. You know, they both struggled recently, you know, with wins and losses. But I think Geoff Neal, you know, could take this. It'll excel him in the welterweight division, and hopefully he doesn't get Khamzat Chimaev next if he wins. I mean, because with Khamzat Chimaev calling out everybody and their brother, I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, but the thing is, Khamzat, he's just trying to call out anyone to fight again. Because he's missed a lot, and he's trying to ride his hype train as much as he can, which is valid, because he has a hype train going on. But if he fights anyone in the top 5 and loses, it ruins his hype train. He has to win. If he doesn't win, it ruins his whole hype train, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, he has to continue winning. And I don't know if you saw this. I mean, he was calling out Nate Diaz, right, real quick. Yep. He was calling out Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz gave an interview, and somebody mentioned Khamzat Chimaev as his next opponent. And Nate Diaz was like, "Don't respect me with that. Don't disrespect me with that. Like he's a freaking rookie. Like, and I'm a legend."
Agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I agree with that because I mean, look, Nate Diaz has one fight left on his contract. Don't give him Khamzat because in reality, it's a bad matchup for Nate Diaz.
I disagree.
Khamzat's coming in guns a blazing.
I think Khamzat would have his hands full.
You think so?
What can he do? Like, people keep forgetting Nate is a 4-time black belt jiu-jitsu. He's not terrible on the ground. If you remember on his earlier career, what did he do? Take everyone down and sub them all.
Yeah.
He doesn't suck on the ground. He takes a beating, obviously. He takes an ass whooping.
But I think Nate Diaz, real quick, is I think he's saving that last fight for Conor. I think they're going to. Look at Conor in those photos. Look how bulked up Conor's been.
He looks huge.
He looks huge. I think he's around one. He said
he's 190.
190. So that's a good cut for a 170 right there. You know, and then he still has that muscle. He may not lose most of that muscle. You know, so I mean, maybe. I think that's. I'm calling it right now. I'm calling that right now. Nate Diaz's last fight on his contract is going to be that trilogy fight. There's no other fight. I mean, there's no other fight.
I wouldn't mind seeing that either. I would not, because Conor's on a downward spiral. Nate has lost his last 2. Why not? I would like to see it.
I think it has to happen. I mean, for these two guys to leave this sport, and I really hope it doesn't happen anytime soon because I love both fighters. I mean, Conor, I just love the shit talking that he does. Mm-hmm. But for these two fighters to leave this sport without concreting that legacy or that trilogy,
I'm pretty sure they're going to run it back.
And still that Dustin Poirier fight is still there too. I mean,
well, the thing is that before we get off that topic, Nick Diaz is in talks of fighting Kevin Holland, I believe.
That would be a good fight too. I mean,
I wouldn't mind seeing that either.
I would not. I mean, that would be a great fight, and if that comes to fruition, go for it. You know. So also on this UFC 269 card, we have Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt's stepping down to flyweight. Oh boy, I don't really know. You know what he's going to look like.
He's trying to find his itch. That's what it is. He's trying to find what's best for him. He can't fight featherweight. It's not for him.
It's not.
Bantamweight, not for him. So he went to featherweight. Flyweight, sorry.
I think he'll have the maybe height advantage. He's a very tall fighter, but I don't know if you saw photos of him and him getting to flyweight.
He looks rough.
He looks rough.
Looks like he's been taking meth for 10 weeks.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the weigh-in this weekend, on Friday, when they weigh in, I don't know where to go with this fight based on what he looks like when he steps on that scale.
Well, Cody is, I think he's the underdog, I believe.
He would be the underdog because Kaya Kara France, who he's fighting, I mean, he has more experience. He's 22-9. Cody Garbrandt's 12-4.
Right.
He's going to be the underdog, stepping into the flyweight division, something he hasn't done before. I mean, it's time will tell, you know, if this is the right move for Cody Garbrandt. But I feel like he had to do something. You know, let's be real. With the bantamweight divisions being stacked up like it is and held up with Aljamain Sterling, I mean, it was the move I think he should make. I don't know if this is the right move. We're gonna have to find out. But I really think I'm kind of biased with Cody Garbrandt because I do enjoy him as a fighter. But I think this might be a rough matchup for Cody Garbrandt.
I think it's win or go home. He's been on 3 different weight classes trying to find the itch.
Yeah.
You keep losing. You dropped all the way down the flyweight, and you get beat again. Man, you're going to have a rough conversation with Dana White.
Yeah.
It's going to be a rough conversation.
It's going to be rough. I don't really know where he stands, but we're going to have to find out. That's a great fight. Do not sleep on that fight on this card. As well, on this card, we have Shane O'Malley. Mm-hmm. Shane O'Malley.
Shane? You mean Sean?
Sean O'Malley.
Right.
My bad. I always get mixed up, you know. Sean O'Malley. So, and my girlfriend always tells me, like, when I call him Shane O'Malley, she's like, that's wrong. That's not the right name.
No,
but
Sean.
I'll get it eventually one of these days. So Sean O'Malley, 14-1, last loss to Marlon Vieira, and so he's, you know,
I don't even count that as a loss. I think he's still undefeated. I don't count that.
I wouldn't count it as a loss. I think I don't know, man. I mean, obviously it's on his record, but he's been doing great since then. You know, he beat Chris Mutiano and then Thomas Almeida, which are pretty good dogs in the bantamweight division. But I don't know, man. I don't really necessarily like this matchup for Sean O'Malley because Roland Paiva, who he's fighting, I mean, this is new to him. This is going to be his second fight in the bantamweight division.
Right.
So, I mean, his first fight he beat Kyler Phillips, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Sean O'Malley's going to have the height advantage, right?
Significantly.
And he's been looking phenomenal. I mean,
and he has the reach.
He has the reach as well. He's already won twice this year. So, I mean, he's more active right now than Roland Paiva.
Yeah, but the thing is with Sean O'Malley is he's been doing well, but why aren't you fighting top fighters?
He's
why
still unranked. He's still unranked.
Why do you keep fighting all these other guys? I don't understand it.
You saw he came out in an interview, right? And he was like, because Dominic Cruz is also on this card. And we may not have time to talk about Dominic Cruz, but Dominic Cruz is on the prelims.
Yeah.
So a former two-time bantamweight champion is on the prelims.
That's how stacked this card is.
And that's how stacked this card is. So Sean O'Malley basically was like, you know, he was asked why Dominic Cruz is on the prelims and Sean O'Malley is, you know, on the pay-per-view. And Sean O'Malley basically said, look, it's business. Like, I guess they feel like I can sell more pay-per-view buys than Dominic Cruz.
Which is true.
Which is true to an extent. Yeah, I mean, he is the new, fresher name. And Dominic Cruz, he kind of has like one. I mean, he does commentary. Does he have one foot out the door? I don't really know. I mean, I don't know. What his intentions are in taking this fight against Pedro Munez, because it's not by any means a good fight for him. Pedro Munez for Dominic Cruz, Pedro Munez is not a good fight for him. Pedro Munez is no joke, man. Dominic Cruz has been in and out.
Yeah, but I think it comes in a time where do we see champion Dominic Cruz, or we see a lesser value of Dominic Cruz?
I don't think
if you see champion Dominic Cruz, I think he's gonna walk him down.
I mean, Dominic Cruz has the best defense. He has
a weird movement.
Yeah, very awkward, very hard to gauge. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Pedro Munez has been able to capitalize on, it's hard to train for a guy like that. When Pedro Munez is training, it's hard to find somebody to emulate those kind of moves that Dominic Cruz does and that awkwardness. It could come to Dominic Cruz's advantage. That's probably his only advantage, because he hasn't necessarily been as active. Like I said, he's mainly on the commentary team, and I don't know. I mean, he's getting up there in age. So I mean,
yeah, I don't think Dominic Cruz is gonna be another title holder or anything like that. I think he's just gonna be there to collect money, but we'll see.
But couldn't he just do that from the commentary booth?
Not if you're a competitor. We said this about Misha Tate.
Yeah.
When you're a competitor, you want to get in there. You don't want to sit there behind the booth and collect money, even though we all say it's a good idea. You collect the money talking about it. But when you're a competitive nature and you've been in the ring and you've been there, you want to go back. That's where you like to be.
So, I mean, we're getting towards the end of this show, right? So, if I was a casual fan, I would buy into this pay-per-view.
Oh, absolutely.
I would absolutely buy into this pay-per-view, and I think, in my opinion, it's worth the $70.
$70.
It's $70. You didn't know that? It's
I did not.
It's $70, man. Yeah, on ESPN. On ESPN Plus, it is $69.99.
Well, people, I'll give you a heads up. There's these stream things online. You can see it for free.
You're gonna get us flagged. But yes, I mean, if you do have, some other ways to watch this, other alternatives, go for it. But it's worth the $70 in reality. I mean, it is hard to shovel out that money when
especially Christmas is coming.
Christmas is right around the corner. But I think it's definitely a good card. It's, in my opinion, could be the best card of this year. There's potential for both, two upsets this weekend. We could have Dustin Poirier walking out and Juliana Penne walking out champions.
Like, I don't think the Dustin one would be an upset. I think it's just a pick 'em. Like, if you're gonna say an upset, possibly.
I only say upset.
Sean O'Malley losing, I think that would be an upset, and Julia Penne winning was an upset.
I only say upset because of Charles Oliveira's win streak, because he has more wins stacked up than Dustin Poirier. But the competition, like we said in the beginning of the show, the competition is very different. It's different, The fighters that Dustin Poirier's beat, Charles Oliveira hasn't, And when your only loss most recently is to Habib, it says a lot about you. It really does. So, I mean, this is the end of the show, and I would like to thank, everybody that has watched. I would like to remind you to go subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell for all notifications so you're aware when we go live. We'll be back in the studio next Wednesday commenting and giving our predictions for this Jake Paul Tyron Woodley fight. I don't know where we're going to go with this one. And if more news breaks, you can hit up the Combat Misfits Twitter page as well as our Combat Misfits Facebook page. And we'll be giving you a lot of news as well that breaks. And I'd like to give a shout out to my Devereaux Sports Brothers. We got the Gobbler Inc., we got the Sullivan Squad, we got the Breakfast and Body Slams. And we also have Austin Hamill does his union show, but I mean, unfortunately, they lost, so they're probably out of the World Cup. But this has been, a great show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Chris, any ending thoughts?
No, not at this time. But man, we appreciate all the love and support you guys show us, man. Like you guys comment on our Facebook or Twitter, all that, or YouTube. Man, we appreciate all the love that you guys send out to us. It's been very grateful.
Make sure you tune in to Breakfast and Body Slams tomorrow at 9:05. 9:05. Search them up. They're a great show if you're a wrestling fan. For me, for Chris, for Vinny, Quinn, you guys have a great night and enjoy the holidays, as they approach.